Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Back to Biden's little puppet at the podium, Karine Jean-Pierre. It's been a real bad last couple weeks for her, to be completely honest here. It's been basically bad since she took over. Even her previous career as a CNN pundit was pretty cringe, but the last week can only be described with one word, and that's yikes. Like I said in the previous KJP video, it's embarrassing to watch, in a certain way I feel bad for her. Last week, a whole group of reporters behind the shroud of anonymity told Politico that she was, quote, the worst White House press secretary in the history of televised White House press meetings. That was anonymously behind the scenes to Politico. This time, the calling out of Karine Jean-Pierre was, let's just say, a little bit more public. White House press journalists are starting to turn on Karine Jean-Pierre to the point where it's becoming public. It seems as though they cannot stand her. And you know what? I don't blame her. Let's continue to cover the tragic career train wreck that is KJP. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so the viral moment of the week. Total embarrassment for Joe Biden's little podium puppet.
Karine, since you don't have any answer on the classified document, are you still a good fit for this job?
Go ahead. Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead, my friend.
Has any meeting been set between
Absolute-based savage Simon Ateba? We've seen this man before. He's a White House correspondent from Africa, representing Today News Africa, and it seems as though he's not beholden to the American corporate press. Every now and then he gets to sneak in a question, and it's almost always a banger. You have a whole group of fancy American journalist graduates there, all professionals at the top of their game, but not one of them willing to do what this man just did. Actually challenge this administration with the truth. And the truth is, Simon Ateba is absolutely correct. If you can't answer a damn question, you are not fit. You are not qualified to be White House press secretary. Here's the difference. Simon Ateba will actually say it to her face. Based. The rest of these clowns will continue to enable the status quo, won't ever say anything during the actual event itself, will pretend as if the issue clearly doesn't exist even though we all see it, and then they'll anonymously tell their opinion behind the scenes to political reporters. Cowards, simple pawns, who don't ask the hard questions, don't actually pry for the truth, and simply go through the motion, because that's probably what they're paid to do. More dishonest left-wing hack journalism. None of them are looking for the truth. If they were, these White House press events would be absolute mayhem. If these journalists had an ounce of credibility each, they would be going after Karine Jean-Pierre in the same way that this African reporter is, because she doesn't answer a single friggin' question. Take a look at this little montage that I've created from that exact same press conference from the clip that I played earlier.
Has the president invited the Justice Department to search his Rehoboth Beach house?
Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
We know the president did it. Why did he do it?
I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
In the president's own words, he admits to having information that wasn't his. Why did he smuggle it out?
I will let the statement of the president stand for itself. I'm just not going to go into down a rabbit hole with you on this.
My second question is regarding a comment from Senator Ted Cruz. He's calling for a search of President Biden's Senate records at the University of Delaware for potentially classified information. Those records reportedly include about 1,850 boxes of documents, as well as 415 gigabytes of electronic files. Does President Biden have any objection to such a search?
When it comes to the documents and this ongoing legal matter, I refer you to the White House counsel's office.
Now that's not every single moment, but that pretty much gives you an idea of what it's like to be asking this woman questions. You get nothing.
You get nothing!
You just go in circles over and over and over asking questions, and even when you get words from her that's not just, I don't have anything, or I'll refer to you somebody else, this is how she answers the question.
Another question on the documents. You have said, though, from this podium many, many times over the last 2 weeks that this president takes the handling of classified material very seriously. And yet we continue to learn about more documents being found and discovered at his home, including now some that go back decades to his time in the Senate. So why should the American people believe that this president takes classified material seriously and the handling of it?
Look, the American people heard from the president directly on this when he was asked by your colleagues at least twice now about about how he sees this process. And he was very clear with the response of what we're currently seeing. And he says, I take this very seriously. He said, I didn't know that the documents were there. And look, I think as it relates to the American people and the president standing with the American people, it is going to be up to them to decide how they see this president. Look, this is a president that came into office, 9 million people had lost their jobs. The unemployment rate was 6.3%, and hundreds of thousands of small businesses had closed their doors. And in the past 2 years, we've created nearly 11 million jobs. The unemployment rate is at a record low at 50-year record low. In the last 2 years were the best years for small businesses applications on record. We talked about that last week, just from here. The president has built the most significant legislative record since LBJ. Let's not forget, there's a CHIPS and Science Act, the bipartisan infrastructure legislation. I just walked through what he's going to see next week when he's traveling to Baltimore and also New York City. The Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to deal with lowering costs. So the president has been in office for the last 2 years focusing on the American people.
A total word salad going in circles and eventually praising the president and saying that he's focused on the American people. What does that have to do with anything? She doesn't answer the damn question. Ever. You know, there's a lot of frustrating jobs out there. I think being part of the White House press corps is probably moving up the list with Karine Jean-Pierre as the White House press secretary. It's either a non-answer or an empty political statement that doesn't answer your question. And then it gets probably even more frustrating when you move on from Karine Jean-Pierre after she didn't answer your question and you go on to John Kirby, and this is the response that you get.
From a national security perspective, you work in national security, how concerned are you, and does the system need reform?
I'm going to defer most of the document questions to Karine. The only thing I'd say here is that you're welcome.
Thank you.
John Kirby is going to defer most of the questions to Karine Jean-Pierre, who's then going to defer all of those questions to the White House legal counsel. The White House legal counsel is just not going to answer your questions, and it's a vicious cycle of nothing, of getting absolutely nothing. Actually, funnily enough, the only time we really got a genuine, somewhat real response from Karine Jean-Pierre was from this moment right over here, this absolutely epic viral moment with Peter Doocy. Take a look.
When you found out that the FBI had located even more classified materials in Wilmington, which four-letter word did you use?
Oh my goodness, Peter.
Can't say.
That laugh is the first honest question that we have received from Karine Jean-Pierre. That laugh is essentially confirmation that even she knows that she is full of you-know-what. It's a subconscious, guilty reaction of laughter. That's what that is. She's laughing because she knows that he's right, and that he hit the nail on the head, and that there probably was actually a four-letter word that was used. Every time more documents are found, that's probably Karine Jean-Pierre's exact reaction, especially considering how many times she said that the search was complete. The Biden White House is continuing their track record of being the least transparent administration in American history after promising to be the most transparent. Here's Joe Biden's advisor, Ian Sams, on MSNBC, even getting Mika Brzezinski to act up a little bit through the frustration of nonstop complete non-answers.
And you heard Congressman Schiff just before this interview. He walks into his gift, checks for his devices, he walks out, makes sure he doesn't have anything. A lot of people are asking, how could this happen? And that's the answer that we're stuck on. There's no answer being provided.
Well, again, I'm going to stress this again, and I understand that there's a desire for public disclosure of information.
I understand that there's a desire for public disclosure of information. There's a desire, but of course, we won't tell you anything, is essentially what the Biden White House is telling you. We know that you guys want to get to the bottom of this, that you guys deserve answers and want answers, but we're going to give you nothing. Please refer all questions to the White House legal counsel. The whole thing is falling apart. They're struggling to cope. The Mike Pence distraction, I don't think is working. They're grasping at straws in their utter desperation. So desperate, in fact, that even Whoopi Goldberg on ABC's The View tried to go this far.
Presidents and vice presidents can declassify these, not with their brains,
There is, you have to go, there is something that you go through before it's declassified.
Suggesting that Biden actually declassified all the documents, which the Vice President of the United States has no authority to do. And by the way, that's a complete conspiracy theory with zero evidence to back it up. But they're clearly getting desperate here. They're running away from questions. They're making it up as they go. They're running away. They're dodging. It's all just so ridiculous and so evident that even the mainstream media is getting fed up with them, and the frustration is quite visible. That's what I got for you guys in this video, though. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.